The Bay Area housing market has experienced a significant slowdown over the last 6 months. But where are the windows of opportunities right now for home buyers in this marketplace? And what does this all mean if you are a home seller in the Bay Area today? Coming up on this Silicon Valley Snapshot. It's no secret, home prices are falling. The market is slowing down significantly. And in this video, we're going to go into the live data, the data up to the minute data right now in November of 2022, just to see exactly what's going on. Because it's one thing to hear, oh, things are bad, but it's another thing to see what the data is actually showing for us in real time. And we're going to get into all of that information right now. But before we get into that, if you're a home buyer in today's marketplace and you're looking for a comprehensive data set to assist you in your home buying decision making, you can text the word data plus the neighborhood or the zip code or the area that you're looking in, and we will get all of those trends sent straight to your inbox. And if you're a home seller in today's marketplace and you're trying to figure out, is now a good time for me to sell? If not, then when is the opportune time for me to sell? What should I price my property for? All of those questions and more can be answered when you text the word data plus your property address to the number down below, and we will get all of that information sent straight to your inbox. The Bay Area housing market is absolutely in a correction period right now. And if we look at the data and we look at what the media is saying, two very different things. The media would have you believe it's a free fall right now. And the data, you'll see in a second, shows that it's anything but that. It is quite a different market than it was in the springtime. But that being said, the stability that we're seeing in the housing market right now in the Bay Area, despite layoffs, despite interest rates, and all of these other extraneous factors, is actually quite impressive. And so we're going to get into the data right now because I know that all of you are just chomping at the bit to see it. And let's start off with Santa Clara County. So in Santa Clara County, in October of this year, we're seeing a drop off both in inventory levels, which is represented by the light green line. We saw a drop off month over month in inventory as well as demand. Now, if we saw a drop off just in demand, then we could say the market has absolutely softened in Santa Clara County month over month, but that is simply not the case. We are seeing a drop off in demand, absolutely, but inventory is falling with it. And when that happens in real time, means the market conditions are rather stable in Santa Clara, at least for the time being. What I really want us to pay attention to is actually the delta between inventory levels and pending activities. So in October, we're seeing that delta of about 400 or so homes. When you compare that to June and July of this year, we actually had far worse market conditions in June and July. So we're seeing a restabilization of the marketplace. Things aren't getting worse than they were in the summer of this year. Now, I would absolutely, if I were a seller, be concerned if it was getting worse, if the market conditions, if the delta, the difference between inventory and pending activity was growing bigger. But we're not seeing it grow bigger. Yes, it's growing bigger from August to September and then staying fairly neutral from September to October. But we're not seeing an increase month over month over month in the difference between inventory levels and pending activity. That's when we would be in a true free fall, at least in Santa Clara County. But let's flip over to San Mateo County. In San Mateo County, we're seeing pending activity drop off just ever so slightly from September to October. So we saw 354 homes pending in September and then 314 homes in October pending. That's a difference of 11% with inventory staying rather flat. We basically saw the same amount of homes on the market in September to October. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the market conditions in San Mateo County have absolutely gotten softer from September to October. And probably the softest it's been, if you look at just the delta, the difference between inventory levels and pending activity, this is actually the softest it's been in San Mateo County since this whole thing started back in May. Definitely something to keep an eye on here in San Mateo County as we roll into December, as we roll into January. Let's see how this market reacts over the next 60 days to see if that delta continues to widen, if it stays neutral, or if we start to see those lines come back together again. So obviously, if you're a seller, we want to see those lines, we want to see that delta start to shrink. And if you're a buyer, obviously you want to make sure that you have as much opportunity as possible. But we'll get into that in a second. Surfing on down to Santa Cruz, we've got 283 homes on the market inventory in October and 116 homes pending in Santa Cruz in October. Now, if you look, almost identical story in Santa Cruz as we have in San Mateo County, where pending activity has dropped off 13%. Inventory levels have stayed relatively flat. And as is the case with San Mateo County, in Santa Cruz, we are also seeing very similar story where this is probably the softest it's been since this whole thing started in May. So definitely want to make sure that we pay attention to this trend to see if that delta between inventory levels and pending activity continues to grow wider, or if we start to see that shrink a little bit. Obviously, for home sellers, we'd want to see that line start to shrink over the next 60 to 120 days. Now, heading on up to San Francisco, we're seeing actually fairly stable market conditions from September to October. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is the softest it's been in the city for quite some time. If you're looking at inventory levels, they went up almost 50% from August to September. That is a massive increase in inventory levels month over month. Now, if we look from September to October, fairly stable. This tends to happen, however, in the fall. So if we're looking back from August to September of last year, you can see that a sharp increase in inventory levels from August to September of 2021. Same story here in 2022. Now we're seeing a stabilization in inventory levels as well as pending activity in San Francisco month over month from September to October, with 1,246 homes on the market in San Francisco and 372 homes pending. I just want to say that there is massive opportunity in San Francisco. It's on sale right now. And at some point in the future, I just can't help but think that anyone who bought in this market right now, this cycle, where we're seeing so many homes on the market, which just means there's so much to choose from and the competition is not very high right now in San Francisco. If I'm just looking at the numbers right now, I can't help but think that once San Francisco returns to its peak glory, which, man, I would hope happens in the next decade. I mean, that would be awesome. There's going to be a lot of equity built for anyone who gets in the marketplace today. Can't help but think that that is a window of opportunity for anyone who can weather the storm over the next 5 to 10 years. Hold on to it as a long-term investment. It's going to pay dividends in the long run. Now, of course, there's also the fact that San Francisco has become incredibly unfriendly for landlords over the last decade or so. But if you can weather that and you can weather the storm of the ups and downs and the highs and lows of being an investor in San Francisco, I can't help but think that people who invest in the city are going to see massive equity gains over the next decade. If you can find great opportunities right now, because they are out there. They're absolutely out there in San Francisco right now. And by the way, if you'd like finding the best opportunities in San Francisco, I have some incredible team members, agents up in the city who are just tigers finding amazing investment opportunities for their clients. So go ahead and text the word SF Invest to the number down below if you'd like an introduction to someone that can help you identify and pinpoint those opportunities specifically in San Francisco. Now, heading over to Contra Costa County, we're seeing a slightly similar situation as Santa Clara County, where from September to October, month over month, we're seeing a decrease both in inventory levels as well as demand. 1,362 homes on the market and 717 homes pending. That's a 9% decrease in pending activity month over month and a 5.4 decrease in inventory levels month over month. So market conditions staying fairly stable in Contra Costa County month over month. Obviously, we want to continue to pay attention to this trend. It is not as bad as it was back in the summer of this year for Contra Costa. So let's see how this continues to play out. Let's see if that delta continues to grow bigger, if it grows smaller. This is something that we want to continue to pay attention to, especially in the East Bay, because the massive equity gains that happened over the last 2 years or so. I would expect that the East Bay get hit a little bit harder than the rest of the Bay Area, but so far it's looking actually not so bad in the Contra Costa. So let's continue to pay attention to this. I'd be very curious to see what happens over the next 12 months in Contra Costa and as well as Alameda County, which is our final county here. 1,412 homes on the market in September, down to 1,334 homes in October of this year. So we're seeing a decrease in inventory levels as well as pending activity. We're seeing 726 homes pending in October, which is a 10% decrease or so from September, and only about a 6% decrease or so, 5.5% decrease in inventory levels. So slightly worse conditions in Alameda County month over month, but nothing too crazy. We're not seeing massive decline in pending activity versus inventory levels, and certainly not as bad as it was in the summer of this year. So still something to pay attention to in Alameda, in Contra Costa, but it's certainly not the free fall that we've been told it is. Right? Just the numbers are showing that it's absolutely not that whatsoever. In fact, we are seeing numbers that corroborate more of a stabilization, if anything, than a free fall. So just something to pay attention to as we move into the later months here in 2022 into 2023. Now, what does this mean if you are a home buyer in the marketplace right now? Well, first things first, obviously there's much more opportunity to get good deals right now in this market than there has been in a long time. Now, here's the irony in all of this is that for years I've heard home buyers sitting on the sidelines waiting for a market correction. They're saying, oh my gosh, if only we could see prices drop, if only we could get great market conditions like we did in 2008, 2009, 2010. Well, folks, those conditions are here. Whether you want to admit it or accept it, they are absolutely here. We are seeing massive discounts on property. Now, here's the irony in all of this. Now that we are finally here, the flip side is, oh, well, I don't want to buy right now because it's too risky. Well, the truth is that people who bought in 2008, 2009, 2010, there was absolutely a ton of risk associated with buying in those times too. Here's the thing, is that in times of opportunity, no one knows it's opportunity until it's too late, right? So in the moment that we're in right now, in this current state that we're in, lots of buyers are sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to improve, waiting for the job market to improve or for us to have a better sense of what's actually going to happen, more certainty in the marketplace. Well, let me tell you, there is no certainty during windows of opportunity. That is when everyone is uncertain about what's coming and what's ahead. That's when people who have lots of experience in investing typically buy, or at least people who have lots of experience investing and make massive equity gains fairly quickly. So if you're a home buyer and you're sitting on the sideline right now, waiting for rates to improve or waiting for there to be more certainty with the economy, you're going to wait for the market to get just as competitive as it was before. This is the opportunity that you have been waiting for. I don't see it getting much better than this. The stability that we're seeing right now, despite all of these extraneous factors that are pushing against the market, should tell you that yeah, the market is definitely on sale right now, but it's not going to go free fall nosedive. The Bay Area is proving in real time that there is too much strength in the marketplace for these negative extraneous factors to completely crash the market here in the Bay Area. Now, if you are a home seller, if you're looking at this data right now and you are like, hey, Danny, I have to move. It's a good time for me to move. My life is taking me somewhere else or whatever the case might be. Awesome. Well, there could be a case for early mid-January or so, us seeing a slight window of opportunity for home sellers. So I've seen it before in markets like this. This happened in 2018, where the market got not so great in the last part of 2018. And for the first 6 weeks or so in 2019, sellers were actually in a really good position for the first 6 weeks or so of 2019. Then it started to we started to see more inventory come on the market, and then things started to really stabilize in the springtime. And we weren't seeing as much of a competitive environment after those first 6 weeks or so in 2019. So we can get you that data so that you can see what happened in 2019 in your neighborhood. You can see, hey, this is what happened in 2018 to 2019. And then the same thing in 2021 year to date, so that you can see, hey, is the trend line following? Because remember, history tends to repeat itself. So if you're a seller and you're like, hey, strategically, should I be thinking about listing in the early part of 2023 because I need to move? Then you can absolutely request that data report. And actually, for anyone who's interested in that specific report, text 2019 report to the number down below, and we'll get you that information so that you can follow the trend line yourself, because you're smart and you can figure out like, hey, are the trends similar in my market right now as they were in 2018 going into 2019? Because chances are, I'm predicting that in many neighborhoods around the Bay Area, we're going to see very similar conditions now going into the next like 3 months or so, as we did in the last part of 2018 going into 2019. Trend lines are going to follow very, very similarly. And if you're considering selling your home, we can absolutely get you that data so that you can make the most educated decision possible. If you've made it this far in the video and you are not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, click that little notification bell, and give us a thumbs up while you're at it. It costs you nothing, and it helps me get in front of more home buyers and sellers around the Bay Area just like you, to spread good information, the kind of information that people need to hear, because there's a lot of negativity happening right now. There's a lot of negativity circulating, and I want to make sure that people see not what the media wants you to believe, but what's actually happening in real time. This is real information. So this is Danny Gould, everyone. I'm selling Silicon Valley, and I will catch all of you in the next Silicon Valley Snapshot.